Hey guys, this is Danielle Harris, Jamie Lloyd from the Halloween franchise.
I'm Ellie Cornell. I'm proud to have played Rachel Carruthers in Halloween 4 and 5.
This is Kathleen Kinmont, Kelly Meeker from Halloween 4.
And you are listening to the Don't Go Out There horror movie review podcast.
I'm so thrilled to be on the Don't Go There podcast.
And you're listening to the Don't Go Out There horror movie podcast. Cops do it by the book.
In a world where zombies, ghosts, serial killers, and vampires all exist, it's Nico, Brian, Mike, and Dustin, and they are all that stand between you and the films that could end the world. Welcome to the Don't Go Out There Horror Movie Podcast.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Don't Go Out There Horror Movie Review Podcast, powered by the Roll Up Network. Just want to thank all our fans and listeners. I really appreciate all the support, the continued and growing support. I must say, we're all very, I don't even know the word, overwhelmed, thankful for the new growth we've gotten recently. Before we jump into tonight's film review, I just want to give a quick shout out to our website, don'tgoouthere.com. Got all of our interviews, our episodes, our blog, which I'm pretty sure Brother Mike's dropping a new blog tomorrow, so check that out. That's going to be a good read.
Yes, sir.
We got our store, and we've got all of our social media links on there. We'd really appreciate if you guys followed us and subscribed to us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. We love the fan interaction and getting questions and comments from you guys. It means the world to us that you take the time to listen to us and chit chat with us. It's awesome. And we have a Patreon set up, monthly, reoccurring Patreon, and we have a one-time. It's called Blood Donors. If you want to check that out, support us. We get a lot of people ask how they can. Just go to our website and click on the Blood Donor link and just see what. This is just if you want to do it, just see what's best for you, and we'd really appreciate it. But it's definitely not required. Tonight is Brother Brian's pick. It is not Wes Craven's New Nightmare. I can't lie. I cried laughing whenever I re-listened to our last episode and it came up to that. I was like,
and you noticed that I left it in?
Yeah, I was dying laughing. Anyway, Brian, announce your pick for tonight, brother.
Yeah, excuse me. I got a cold too, but it's 1988's Halloween 4. And, I picked this one because it's October and I think it's a law. And if it's not, it should be, that we pick a Halloween film. And secondly, I have a ton of nostalgia for this one. When I think of this franchise, this is one of them that I picture. Now, to me, it's one of my favorites in the franchise. It's just kind of a back to basics, simple story, almost like a throwback to the original. And let me go ahead and say this about the mask. I actually don't mind the mask. I mean, by no means is it as good as the original mask. But I do really like how they, had the in-universe explanation of him, finding it in the hardware store and out of universe. They actually used a William Shatner one again, since the original was basically ruined after the first two movies. But for some reason, they didn't do the shading, I guess you want to call it correctly. Didn't get the features done the same way, and it kind of turned out just kind of blank and white. But it doesn't really bother me because of the in-universe explanation of him getting one, from the station, like I talked about. But now if someone wants to re-edit the movie with a little deep fake action, and put the one that's on the fucking poster on it, hey, I'm not stopping you. I would love to see that. I'll give you my email address to do so. Now, the portrayal by George P. Wilbur as Myers, I kind of have a lot of problems with it, which may not be a popular opinion, but and they're not his fault by any means, but everything else, from friends of the show, Danielle Harris, the wonderful Ellie Cornell, of course, Kathleen Kinmont. Listen to their amazing interviews and some more insight into this movie on don'tgoouthere.com. I think they're great in this. And after Halloween 3, this one was basically like a make or break type movie for the franchise. I mean, if this didn't deliver, at least on some levels, the chances are that we never see Michael Myers again after this. And, judging by Halloween 5, we probably shouldn't have. But we'll get to that eventually. I do think they deliver a solid sequel here. Despite what the quote-unquote official word says, I still consider this kind of part of the original timeline of 1 through H2O or Resurrection. Needless to say, for all its faults, I like this movie.
All right, I'll go next. I don't hate this movie by any means. I know I've kind of made the jokes or comments in the past, but I really don't hate this movie. It's an easy watch. It's only like an hour and 28 minutes, hour and 30. It's not bad at all. It's a good runtime. I think it's pretty well paced, honestly. Uh, just I'm not a fan of Michael Myers' portrayal or the look, the mask. I'm not a fan of either of them, honestly. What really carries this movie to me is just Jamie Lloyd, young Danielle Harris, and Rachel Carruthers. I think their bond really carries this movie, and I think the this movie captures the atmosphere and the vibes of fall Halloween time incredibly. And I don't know if it's just because I watched this movie on Shudder, but I guess just the way this movie is shot, it just feels like that 80s vibes, the 80s camp, the way it's just shot, the way it looks. I think it looks really good. But to me, I don't like, but to me, to what makes a great slasher movie is a great portrayal of the slasher. And I just don't think Wilbur does a great job personally. And I think the kills are not very good. But that's just my opinion, but I still think this is a very watchable movie, and it's not terrible by any means, because what comes after this is terrible. Dustin, you want to go next?
Yeah, sure. So I don't hate this movie either. I think I actually ranked it. It was definitely in the top 5 when we did our Halloween rankings and everything, or our 31-31. I put it, fourth. I like this the fourth best of the Halloween films. A couple of years ago, it was either late 2019 or maybe early 2020. I don't remember. But Mike and I watched this movie and texted back and forth during it. And I had been doing a Halloween watch through at the time. So I watched 1, watched 2, watched 3. Then I watched this one. I liked it a lot more that time than I did this time. So I think it's unfair to this movie that it had to follow part 3, because I was so relieved that they abandoned whatever hopeless piece of shit idea they had for part 3 and went back to the original, went back to the basics for part 4, that when we got to it and we watched it, I loved it. But then when I watched it this time, I didn't watch 3 beforehand. So I wasn't coming off that bad taste in my mouth. I was just watching it for what it is. I definitely didn't enjoy it as much. But I think that, like you said, Nico, and Brian, the acting of a young Danielle Harris was so impressive. You know, we've talked on this show a lot about child actors and how they have really almost ruined some movies that we've talked about on this show, and definitely soured our opinions of the movie in general just because we can't get past it. Chucky. But she is phenomenal in this movie, and she really, it's like she's not acting. She's just so natural in this role. And I think that really carries it and elevates it to a higher rating than it would have got without her. I agree the mask doesn't look great, but you know what? It's not CG, so I can get over it. I definitely wish that Jamie Lee Curtis was in this movie. I wish that they would have been able to bring her back, but I get it. You know, she didn't want to. I guess she didn't want to be on the Halloween Halloween train without John Carpenter. I think that's the story, right? Maybe I'm mistaken, but I respect it. Regardless, it's an enjoyable movie for what it is. It's a pretty basic, cut and dry slasher film that gets really back to the basics of what Halloween is supposed to be about, and I can appreciate it for taking it there.
All right, everyone. Open that Miller Lite. Let's do this. Okay. So I really like the movie. Again, I'm a well-known Halloween franchise fan. While Scream is my favorite franchise overall, Michael Myers is my favorite quote-unquote slasher villain. Now, is this movie great? No. Do I think they get a lot right? Absolutely. I love the way the movie is shot. You touched on it, Brian and Nico, both. The mood, the atmosphere. This movie feels like a Halloween movie. It feels very fall. It captures that essence. We're going to talk about the opening credit scene, but I think it's really good. Now, look, the plot is very simple to me. I'm not a fan so much of tying everything back to this Strode Myers family dynamic, which is what we get here. But I do think this is simple enough and it's not convoluted like we get in the next two movies, which is just asinine and ridiculous. 5 in particular. I'm not going to disparage 6, but I will go ahead and say I will shit on Halloween 5 until the cows come home because that movie is a piece of ass. 4 gets lumped into that Thorn trilogy that I don't think is very fair. This movie has nothing to do with the Cult of Thorn. It's a very back to basics, bare bones Halloween movie where it's not Halloween the original, but it's a pretty note for note, not remake obviously, but they do a lot of the same things. They just modernize it 10 years forward, where you get some very 80s characters. You get Rachel and you get Tina, and there's some really not Tina, but there's some good characters in this film. You guys already sang the praises of Danielle Harris. She's really, really great here as Jamie Lloyd. I mean, she steals the movie to me. The Mask is dog shit. This movie would be higher, in my opinion, if that mask was really good. I really do care that much about the Michael Myers mask because I think when the mask is good, the movie has the potential to be that much better. And maybe if they shot it better, lit it better, it wouldn't be as bad. I'm trying to make some excuses here, but I just think the mask is really bad.
Or didn't light it much at all. That would be probably the way to go.
And also to that point, any Michael Myers mask with eyebrows is a piece of shit to me. That's just absolutely ridiculous. And there's 2 in this movie. You get the one with eyebrows, and then you get the pink one with blonde hair, which both are just god awful. George P. Wilbur, I'm indifferent about. I don't think it's as bad as you guys do, but I certainly don't think it's very good. But I'm really, really indifferent because I'm just happy to see Myers back on my screen after Halloween 3, so on and so on. So all in all, a really good movie that captures the essence of the original. I will say I go back and forth on whether I think it's a good thing or a bad thing that it doesn't do anything daring and different until the end. So I will give it credit for the end. But as far as, I'm glad it doesn't go so far into the kooky bullshit that Halloween 5 does. And it doesn't go so far into the what the fuck am I watching that Halloween 6 does. I know Brian likes it. I'm sorry. I'm not trying to disparage it. But, this is a very back to basics Halloween movie, which the franchise probably needed. Because I'll be honest, I know that Nico said he didn't like the kills, and the kills aren't great. But I think that was the point, to be very Halloween 78 with this, because you get all these Friday sequels in here, and sleepaway camps and all these other things in this 10-year period between the first one and this one, and it's just a lot of blood and guts and kills, which I like too, by the way. I love a good kill, but I think the point of the movie was to kind of take it back to 78 when you don't see everything, and I mean they had to go in and add kills because. Right. Because and we're going to get to that. They had to go in and add some kills just so it wouldn't be as boring, to the new 80s audience. So, really good movie. Not my favorite, but I do think it's now. It was one of my favorite sequels at a time. It's still pretty close to be a number 3, number 4, depending on the day and how I'm feeling. But it was certainly supplanted by Halloween 2018. So, as far as sequels that I enjoy, so I'm excited to talk about it.
Yeah, and actually, you talked about kind of how it got started. Just a little trivia too. John Carpenter and Deborah Hill actually hired Edginson to write something more of it was almost like a psychological, experimental movie. Yeah. You read that too about how it's basically how it affected Haddonfield, in making it, but it made Michael Myers more of a PTSD flashback trauma type of thing in it. And wasn't, they didn't want that, so Mustafa Akkad and them kind of bought the rights back from them, and Alan McElroy, who actually later creator of Nico's Wrong Turn franchise, was signed on to write it. So
yeah, I don't know that that's my franchise.
No, you picked it; it becomes yours, right? Isn't that how it works?
I picked the first one.
I'd rather watch the first Wrong Turn than Army of the Dead. Anyway, please go ahead.
Yeah, well, me too.
Then why'd you pick it?
Dustin makes a good point. We'll catch you next week on Don't Go Out There.
Any more opening thoughts, guys, before we jump into this scene by scene?
Let's do it.
No, let's do it.
I think Mike briefly touched on it, but I do like these opening credits, just like capturing all
Yeah.
this like fall scenes, and I really liked it.
Yeah.
All right.
Before you go, Nico, it just gets away from the pumpkin, which I know is very iconic, and I like that 18 goes back to the pumpkin. You get the pumpkin in 81, but this is kind of just a different way of doing it, and I think it's really good. It really captures we live in a Midwest state, and it's Halloween time, and I really like that.
Yeah, I agree. All right, October 30th, 1988. Opening credits as we get some scenic shots and a title card. Now we see an ambulance arrive at a sanitarium. They're led inside to pick up a transfer to Smith's Grove. The guard escorts them down, saying this is where society drops off their worst nightmares. He now tells the story of Michael Myers, shot 6 times and nearly burned to death. He's ready for him to be gone. The male EMT signs for the body as the lady checks out Michael, and we see his arm fall from the gurney. Dr. Hoffman wants nothing to do with Loomis. They escort Michael out, and we hear the iconic Halloween score play. They load him into the ambulance and take off. They mention Michael's niece, and we see Michael's hands and fingers move. Michael slams the male EMT's head into the side of the ambulance and then shoves his thumb into his skull, killing him. Rachel asks Jamie why she's still awake, and Jamie asks if she loves her as a real sister. Rachel says she loves her just like her sister, and she brings up how much she misses her parents. Rachel takes Jamie to her room, and she sees the curtains blowing around because of the wind. She closes her window and walks in her closet. She looks through her pictures of her mother, Laurie Strode, and weeps. Closes the closet, and we see Michael in the mirror reflection. Jamie prays bedside and walks to her closet when she sees the door open. Michael grabs her leg now from under the bed. She falls and she screams. We see Michael by her bed now as Jamie screams. Jamie's guardian runs back to her room and finds her crying in the closet and comforts her. Haddonfield, Illinois, Halloween Day. Darlene is making breakfast and Rachel is on a diet, not eating much. Now Rachel has to babysit Jamie and miss her date with Brady. Rachel is being kind of dramatic, and Jamie apologizes to Rachel for being a burden to her. Rachel goes to Jamie's room to apologize. She tells her that they're going to go trick-or-treating. Rachel says she's going to pick Jamie up from school and get double scoops of ice cream, and I wrote Jamie's happy again. Loomis asks why wasn't he notified about Michael's transfer. Loomis says he isn't some average patient. He says he doesn't want anyone to have to live that night again. Dr. Hoffman gets a call now about an accident, and Loomis takes off. At the crime scene now, Loomis is told it happened sometime in the night, and 4 people were killed. Unsure of the number of bodies, Loomis walks into the river and looks in the back of the ambulance. He exits the river and says he's gone. Dr. Hoffman says even if Michael survived, his muscles are useless. Loomis says he's heading to Haddonfield. We're at a gas station now, and Michael is there and kills a mechanic. Loomis arrives at the gas station and calls out for anyone. He pumps gas and heads into the garage. He calls for anyone again to no answer, then finds a dead mechanic hung up in chains. He now goes into the diner and finds no one inside until he sees the dead waitress on the floor. He sees the phones destroyed and sees Michael in the back of the building. He shoots at Michael after asking why now after 10 years. He says to take me. The Halloween score plays and we see Michael flee away with a stolen truck, causing the fuel pumps to explode. All right, Brian, that's the first 2 scenes. You want to kick us off?
Yeah, the first thing I just want to say is I want to echo you guys on the atmosphere on this, especially with the credits. Little known fact here, actually, the original script was meant to have kind of a cold open here, showing how Loomis survived Halloween 2, showing them being thrown from the explosion, actually, and firefighters putting him out with fire extinguishers. Does that sound familiar? Halloween Kills. Also included Loomis yelling, "No, let him burn." Again, does that sound familiar? Halloween 2018. That should have been named Halloween Returns. But honestly, I would have loved to have seen that. But since Mustafa Akkad's production company kind of took this on, it meant they couldn't use any of the footage from Halloween 2 since that belonged to Universal still, which is why we get this recap from Raymond O'Connor's security guard, which is so Friday the 13th. I mean, it's not even funny. Which I get it, but it's also funny that we are to now assume that these 2 people from Smith's Grove have never heard of the one patient who escaped from Smith's Grove and murdered a bunch of people. Okay. But I do love the line, "Jesus ain't got nothing to do with this place." I thought that was really well written right there. Love the thumb into the paramedic's forehead. kind of sets the tone early. That was some of the thing I think Mike talked about earlier with them having to go back and add some gore to it because there wasn't enough for the early audiences. But we're getting away from the more human Myers in these and kind of in something with a more inhuman characteristics, like the fucking shoulder pads that Wilbur's wearing. But we'll get into that. But Daniel Harris is Jamie Lloyd. I said it earlier too. We've all talked about it. Dustin talked about the child actors, how they're make or break sometimes in these things. But she's 10 years old, and this entire movie is on her shoulders basically. And unlike say Corey Feldman from the final chapter, I mean, you actually care a lot about this little girl, and you're sympathetic to her. At least I was. But with that said, I think Ellie Cornell steals the show. I mean, I think she's fantastic. And can I say she's the only one in this family that's actually responsible? I mean, she may be dramatic, like you said, but shit, your newly adopted 11-month-old daughter, you're going to just bail on Halloween of all the holidays? Okay. I mean, he's going to, at first, when I was remembering this movie, I thought they're going to fucking Halloween party like every other thing. But, they're going to some weird dinner so that he can get a raise or a promotion on Halloween, which whatever. But, I kind of feel like a particular man, fuck them kids, a moment might be coming up on Dustin's list here. I think there's a few of them in this movie, if I'm not mistaken. So I'll be looking out for those. Now, I'm not a fan of this hallucination scene at all. I don't like it. I don't like that we're introduced to a masked Michael Myers like this. Although it's not real, it's how he looks in this movie. And we haven't even seen him get any of these clothes yet or anything. And how would Jamie even know what he looked like to hallucinate him with? So it's always bothered me. I think you could have gotten these cheap scares without showing Myers at all. Have the hand come out from underneath the bed. But big shout out to Harris, though. Her crying, she genuinely looked horrified. And lastly, gas station scene, I love it. Especially with the face off with Myers and Loomis across the shop. And, I think that this may be a hot take, but I think Donald Pleasance does his best Loomis in this movie. I think that this one has the best interpretation of Loomis to me. Go ahead.
How did she know? Telekinesis, brother. We've talked about that on this show. Anyway, haven't you seen the great illustrious Halloween 5? Come on. Anyway.
That does not exist yet in this movie.
Sorry, that was a small rant. Okay, so I love this intro. I talked about it already. Really captures exactly what I want out of a Halloween film. Really, really good. I like that this sequel gives me some characters to care about. Rachel, Jamie Lloyd, characters I really want to invest in. And like you said, a really good portrayal of Dr. Loomis, which, he becomes a little unhinged, but not so far where I think he's almost another bad guy, which is where he goes in Halloween 5. He has a little bit of a meaner streak because he's tired of this Michael Myers guy, man. Tired of the shit. So I like the portrayal as well. I mean, I'll always harken back to the 78 one because I just love it so much. But this is definitely my second favorite version of Loomis that there is. Because Halloween 2, he just doesn't have a lot to do, in my opinion. But so again, love. I love that we established these characters. This family that Jamie Lloyd is into is annoying to me outside of Rachel, but the parents kind of suck. They're not bad people. They're just not super great foster parents. Like, I don't know what to tell you. I really found it funny that when she takes out the picture of her mom, it's like a publicity stunt photo from
still, yeah.
it's not like some candid of Jamie Lee Curtis. It's like from right on set in 1978. I found that to be really, really funny. Getting here to this gas station scene, and look, leading up to it, we get some good character development from Danielle Harris, but to me, her real character development comes in the next set of scenes, which I think is really where her acting starts to shine through. But again, credit to Ellie Cornell. Great character. Love it. It's awesome. I can't believe I'm still mad when I think about it. Again, this Halloween 4 review is going to be me just shitting on Halloween 5. Just thought I should let you know. because they do so much in this movie to establish some good characters, and then they just shit all over it in Halloween 5. But really good job by Ellie Cornell. Love the character. Big protective sister. I know that there's some back and forth on her in this movie. You know, she kind of dishes Jamie or tries to, but I mean, I can kind of understand that. It's not technically her real sister. Like, totally get it. But at the end of the day, I think she's really a really good character, a strong person. Love that. But as far as the gas station scene goes, a couple things. Love the standoff between Myers and Loomis. I think it's really good. Love Donald Pleasance in the scene. I think he's awesome. I think there's a bunch of random pictures of Abraham Lincoln in this thing, which is really stupid.
He's from Illinois.
Okay, fair enough. Hey, fair enough. Fair enough. Good point. It's just, again, a little obsessive about Abe, but that's fine. Look, a lot of people don't love the bandage mask. I get it. However, this Halloween mask is so bad in this film, I would almost rather him wear this bandage the whole time. I'm dead serious. Like,
it's not that bad. Oh
yes,
God.
it is. Yes, it is. I would almost rather wear bandage the whole time than the Halloween mask we get in this film. That's how I feel about it. Now, I don't love the bandage mask, but okay, everyone's going to shit on me, but just indulge me for a second. It's the reason I don't hate the sackhead mask, because it's an evolution that gets us to the hockey mask. For one movie, if he just wears this bandage mask, and then at the end of the movie, he puts on a really awesome, cool, normal Michael Myers mask. I think that would have been much better than the one with eyebrows that we got that looks like he's this the whole time. And look, it's not a visual medium, this thing that we're doing here, but if you could see me, I look like a fucking idiot. All right. So,
well,
but
if they had a really cool, awesome mask, then your point would be null and void.
I know that, but I'm just saying what I would have rather seen than this dog shit mask we're about to get here in a minute. But I digress. Really love the scene. Think the shoot off is good, and I just like this edgier twist to the Loomis character where he's kind of he's not fully insane yet, but he's starting to get there. He's starting to become, you know, like he's losing his mind a little bit, like his former patient.
So, I think this opening set of scenes did a great job of capturing the atmosphere, like you guys have already touched on. So I'm not going to beat that into the ground, but they did a good job of making it feel like fall, making it feel like a Halloween movie is supposed to feel. And you brought up all the Abraham Lincoln pictures. You know, I want to also once again thank this movie for emancipating me from the dog shit that was Halloween 3. And they let us know that in a hurry.
Halloween.
They didn't waste any. Don't. They didn't waste any time in letting us know that, and I really appreciate that, because if you start watching this and you know it's the return of Michael Myers because that's the name of the movie and he's on the cover, but they start, you know, they take a while to get to that. I might have gotten nervous and given up on the movie because I have PTSD from the third one. I think that the hospital scene was awesome. The security guard was creepy as shit with the way he delivered that line, though, was kind of funny to me. He was like, Jesus ain't got nothing to do with this or this place. So the way he said it was, it's like he was trying to toy with him a little bit. I thought that was funny. Great opening kill. Holy shit, man. He stuck his thumb through his fucking forehead.
Absolutely. Really good kill.
Spoiler alert. That you're going to hear me talk about that kill again. Fantastic. But then, you know, the reason I pointed out that they do a great job in the opening scene of building the atmosphere is because I do have issues with the opening set of scenes, in particular, what you mentioned with the whole hallucination and seeing Michael Myers, and she being Jamie, I'm referring to. When Jamie sees Michael Myers, like, how would she know that that's what Michael Myers is supposed to look like? The size, like, it's just it's too much bullshit for me. I would have rather we don't get that introduced to that or introduced to the imminent threat of him coming after her until later in the story. Just have her be sad. Have her be a sad kid. She's an orphan. That's enough storyline for her right now. She's in a foster home. Now, I do have a sidebar question for you guys. Which foster parents do you prefer? The foster parents we get here or the foster parents from Child's Play 2?
Child's Play 2. Oh.
Because neither one of them are very good.
Were terrible.
I'll take
Yeah,
here.
they were terrible. Yeah, definitely.
I'll
They
take
had a
Halloween
damn
4.
Chucky doll in Andy's closet.
That shit was on purpose. You nasty foster parents. A dog crap movie. Anyway.
Well, dude, I mean, shit. That
fuck off,
the parents in 6 are fucking terrible too. By the way.
Well, first of all, fuck you
Yeah.
too, Nico. And also, yes, the parents in 6 are dog shit as well. Child's Play 2 sucks. Anyway, let's do this.
All right. So anyway, back to this. So I do think that getting to the gas station scene, I do think we get a decent drop. So we all hate off-screen kills, right? We hate them. But the mechanic being all contorted and strung up and everything, I think is okay. Like they did it. That's how you got to do an off-screen kill. Make the discovery of the body shocking. And they did a good enough job on that for me. But then you turn right around and you follow it up with a woman that looks like she's just taking a snooze in the floor. Like there was no injury to her body that you could see from the outside. So that off-screen kill really fucking sucked. Last thing I have on this set of scenes is, so going back to the hospital, this is just a timeline issue because does this movie acknowledge Halloween 2 or not? Make up your mind. Because in the beginning, when the security guard explains what happened 10 years ago, he references Dr. Loomis shooting Michael Myers 6 times and then setting him on fire. So that references 1 and 2. Otherwise, so if he's going to acknowledge 2, he should say that he shot him 11 times and set him on fire. If you combine how many times he was shot. So make up your damn mind. Go ahead.
Hey, and before you go, I wanted to touch on that family dynamic you were talking about. Hey, didn't that scene remind you, like the kitchen scene, remind you of the 2018 kitchen scene? But instead of like peanut butter on my penis, we get a tie in the coffee. And, and then he looks at his wife like it's her fucking fault. Sorry to bring that up, Mike.
I'd rather get Thai in the coffee than, oh, I got peanut butter on my penis. Oh, I got to wash my peanut butter off my penis. Fuck you, Ray. I'm glad you're dead, piece of shit.
Sorry, that was a wound.
Talking about PTSD, Jesus. All right. Now we're at school with Jamie, and the kids are being assholes to her about not having a costume, her uncle being the boogeyman, and her being an orphan. I wrote,
fuck
sheesh,
these kids, by the way.
Yeah,
just
for
right off
real.
the bat. Fuck these kids.
I wrote, sheesh, these kids mean as they chant, Jamie's an orphan. Like, what's up with that?
Yeah,
Jamie runs.
Jamie's mommy is a mummy. That's fucked up, but it's pretty funny.
God damn it.
I guess Brian was one of those kids making fun of her. All right, anywho.
Brian was a bully, I could tell.
Definitely.
yeah.
Oh, you're one to talk, Mike. Go ahead.
Oh, please.
I was not a bully.
Jamie runs outside and hides
Bully
behind a
Nico.
tree to cry and comfort herself. Rachel shows up and picks her up. Lindsay is with them, and Jamie tells Rachel she wants to go trick-or-treating now. They're going to get a costume where Brady works at, and Rachel is nervous about looking desperate. We're at Discount Mart now, and we see some bros betting on whether or not he can pick up Kelly. Wade gets curved viciously. Fuck off, Wade. Brady asks why Rachel is here. Rachel says we need to talk about tonight, Brady, and Jamie goes to look at costumes. She picks out a clown costume and yells out for Rachel, who's making out with Brady. She tells Brady about the news, and Brady is pissed off as he stares at Kelly. He tells Rachel he'll call her later and walks off. We see a hand grab the shape mask, and Rachel sees young Michael in the mirror, and Michael appears behind her. Rachel runs to Jamie when she hears a crash. She tells Rachel it was the Nightmare Man. They leave the store, but we see Michael's reflection in the broken mirror. Loomis is hitchhiking now and gets picked up by Reverend Jackson. Loomis tells him he's going to Haddonfield, and Jackson says he's hunting it just like me, the apocalypse. He drinks as he drives, saying he's been after it for over 30 years. You can't kill damnation. He calls Loomis a pilgrim and offers a drink and begins to sing, We'll gather at the river. Halloween night now, and the kids are TPing all the trees like Auburn just won the Iron Bowl. Rachel's parents leave, and Jamie runs upstairs to change. Someone is watching Rachel from outside. Rachel calls Brady, but he's not home from work yet. Jamie is dressed now, and they leave the house to go trick-or-treat. Now we see someone walking up the stairs at the house, and a hand reaches for Laurie Strode's pictures. Loomis is at the sheriff's department and asks for the sheriff. Brackett is gone, but Sheriff Meeker approaches him. He tells Meeker that Michael is back in town and after Laurie's daughter, Jamie. Loomis snaps, telling him that he's seen 6 bodies and an exploding fuel station. Long distance is down, and Loomis and Sheriff leave together. All right, go ahead, Brian.
So a little fun fact that the girl who drove Lindsay, that drove Rachel and Jamie to the discount mart, was actually is even credited as being Lindsay Wallace from Halloween 1978. They were supposed to have a larger part in the film as Rachel's friend and helping her babysit Jamie, but that was cut for budget reasons. The third boy actually hanging out with Brady and Wade in the drugstore was meant to be Tommy Doyle from the original film too. Um, and this may seem weird, but the hardware store scene and really this kind of entire group of scenes here is my favorite in the whole movie. I don't want to say the best shot or the best set of scenes, but they're my favorite. I don't know. It's kind of a nostalgic thing for me. It's like it reminds me of growing up and going to Big B Drugs down the street and having them cheap Halloween costumes like that. I don't know. It's awesome. And it's awesome. I think she finds the same costume Michael wore as a kid. And I love the scene with him grabbing the mask. But I don't think at all that Myers should have been seen in the mirror like that either. I don't understand why, Little insisted on not only showing Myers and his mask so much in broad daylight too. Like, I don't know, it frustrates me, which, okay, I mean, you might as well get into Wilbur's Myers like we kind of talked about earlier. I mean, look, it's not his fault, but I think Little's decision to make him wear those football shoulder pads to make him look more menacing, no. Look, I mean, how do you not even see that it just makes him look weird? Like he's got some sort of like weird shoulder problems or something. I don't know. And again, like I said, the mask I can forgive. The rest of it, just shoot the man in the dark, like we kind of said earlier. I don't know. I don't like it though with the shoulder pads. Um, Love the introduction to Kelly Meeker. Not to spoil too much, if you haven't listened to her interview, go listen. But Kathleen Kinmont actually talks about ad libbing that "fuck off Wade" line. It's good interview. Go listen to it. Also, I think it's awesome that this is the same Vincent drugstore that's used in The Sandlot a few years later. So I guess that means Smalls and Michael Myers are in the same universe. Hey, there were also 2 scenes in the script, but that were never filmed in this group of scenes here that would show Michael following Rachel, Jamie, and Lindsay to the discount mark like he did in 1978. I guess driving around and following them, and Rachel getting ice cream with Jamie, but they were cut as well. Lastly, I do like the scene with Loomis hitching with Carmen Felipe's Reverend Jackson. Apparently, he had to be fed all those lines by the director too because he couldn't remember them. But I do like the scene a lot. When he says, "You can't kill damnation," even when beaten by another, evil will always rise. I mean, it's super foreshadowing, of course, but I don't know, him saying that he's a fellow pilgrim hunting evil just seems like there's so much like backstory there without even really saying a whole lot. Plus, it's hilarious that he sneezes in his hand. Loomis still shakes it. He's drinking and driving. Loomis is all about it. And I don't know. It cracks me up. Go ahead.
I enjoy the guy that the guy that's drinking and driving is supposed to be the religious one. Anyway, yeah. So first of all, I already said it, but these kids are little shits, man. Who makes fun of someone for being an orphan? That's terrible. And again, I know that is a little camp. Like I will say this. Up to this point, even Halloween 3, which I know we all don't like, you guys despise, is not as campy in a certain way as this movie in these kinds of scenes, because that stuff is just there to make us feel sympathy for the character of Jamie Lloyd, that I don't necessarily think, I don't think it's necessary. I don't think we need this so heavy on the bullying part of Jamie Lloyd to make us feel sympathy for her. I think the fact that she's living in foster care, she's lost both of her parents, is enough to me. I don't hate this stuff or anything. I just, it's a little on the nose in my opinion. But I got a lot. Every time I see this movie, I'm like, man, fuck them kids. Are you kidding me? That's ridiculous. Then you get the stuff at the drugstore. I actually really like the drugstore scene. Some of the dialogue is very late 80s, so that's okay. But first of all, I forgot to do this in the first set of scenes. Ellie Cornell, call me sometime. Hey, don't look at me like that. Kathleen, come on. Call me sometime. Holy smokes, man. Anyway, these characters are very, especially the boyfriend or the interest. Very stock 80s slasher character to me. So I'm not a big fan of him, but I do like the set of scenes. I actually like that at the moment only us and Jamie Lloyd can see Michael Myers. I think that's kind of a fun element where no one else. It's not that they don't necessarily believe her, but they're obviously. It's more so they feel bad for her than anything else, and so I kind of feel for. I mean, again, if you want me to get sympathy for Jamie Lloyd, more so is Rachel kind of feeling bad about having to stay home with her or take her trick or treating than hooking up with her guy friend over here. That's something I feel bad about because I'm split on that. I understand both sides, and that's unfortunate. So, but I also, Brian, really love the fact that they call back to the original and you get the clown costume. That's really, really cool to me. I love how it comes into play later. I absolutely love how they use it later. It's great. Two more things. The scene with Loomis and this guy in the car is so funny to me because these two cannot be any more opposite. I can't help but see this scene and think of, and I know everyone's going to go old school or whatever, but I always think of The Wedding Singer with this guy where he's drinking in the bar with Adam Sandler and what's his name? And it sounds like a country song. That's what I always think of when I see this guy. So to have him sing, and by the way, annoyingly as fuck, he's also the Jimmy Crack Corn guy and Pee Wee Herman, and that's annoying. He's less annoying with this really just him here. But I think some of the dialogue between them, they're kind of drinking. It's fun, but not a great set of scenes by any stretch, at least in my opinion. But good enough to not make me turn the film off, which by Halloween 5 standards, which is what I'm basing this off of. It's better than Halloween 5 so far.
Yeah. So back to the kids at school. Fuck every single one of them, assholes. And see this right here though is exactly what I meant by we don't need the teasing of Michael being a threat to her, and we don't need the nightmares that she's going through and the night terrors and everything because she's got it bad enough. Like we already have a sympathetic and empathetic connection to her. So that's very frustrating for me in this movie. Also, what's very frustrating is Brady. My man is pent up. You can tell he's wanting to bang out some frustrations. I feel bad for him. So she really forced his hand by canceling the plans. He didn't cheat on her. He just had to relieve some stress.
That's toxic. That's toxic, brother. You and Future got a lot in common. Anyway,
the thing. So right here in this drugstore, though, which by the way, Brian, I'm glad you mentioned about the drugstore and where we've seen it before, is also featured in the 1994 Stephen King movie, The Stand, which I've never seen. I just saw that. But here we are in this drugstore, and the glass shatters. We don't need Michael Myers' reflection in it. Like, we don't even need to see him picking up the mask there. Because, number one, if somebody walks into a place to buy a mask and they're all bandaged up, and they're buying that mask, and I know that someone has escaped the ambulance, I'm going to have some questions. Number two,
I'm just going to say I don't think he bought it.
Okay, that's fair. But if I see a guy walk in and he's all bandaged up, and why are you assuming my man doesn't carry a wallet? He clearly drives everywhere.
I mean, that's true.
So,
he has a driver's license. So
he's got his driver's license. So, but no, so even if he steals it, like him just walking into that store is annoying to me because if he's this close to his acquired target, does that seem like the Michael Myers we know? That he's just going to look at her in the mirror and scare the shit out of her and then kill her hours later or try to kill her hours later. So that's frustrating. Like he sees as a target and he makes a move. That's Michael Myers. But whatever, it is what it is. Now, you mentioned how 80s or how typical these stock 80s horror movie characters are. I agree, but it's not a bad thing, man. I want more of that pastor. He's hilarious. Yeah. My man's like preaching the word of God and drinking George Dickel going down the road. Like, I respect it. I love me some George Dickel too. That's the Tennessean coming out in me. But overall, just not a good set of scenes though. For those reasons, like I don't need both. Either Jamie is traumatized because of Michael Myers, or she's traumatized because of school. I don't need to want to cry because of how I feel for her. And number two, I also don't need to see Michael Myers transporting or hallucinations of him. Either he's there or he's not. And if he's there, then let's get to the action. Let's save us about 45 minutes of movie here.
All right, Jamie runs off from Rachel. She's so excited to go to get candy. Rachel tells her we're home by 8. We see Michael in the distance watching as Jamie and a group run up to Sheriff Meeker's house. To Rachel's surprise, she sees Brady in the house with Kelly. Brady stumbles down the stairs to stop Rachel and talk to her. Rachel calls him out, but my man is caught in 4K. Kelly calls for him and Brady goes inside with her. Rachel can't find Jamie now and calls out for her. We're at a bar now, and the news is saying that businesses need to close early. There's a curfew. Earl decides to call the police station. He's not closing shop without a good reason, but there's no answer. Earl and a crew of guys from the bar load up in trucks to go find out why there's no answer at the police station. Sheriff and Loomis make it inside Rachel's house, and Loomis finds the pictures on the ground, and he sees the dead dog. He's been here, Sheriff. Meeker has Officer Logan stay at the house. Now we see a substation guy working at the substation. He sees Michael. He tells him no trespassing, but Michael doesn't answer. He says he's calling the police and don't even think about leaving. Michael grabs him and tosses him into one of the, I guess it's risers or something, electrocuting him and causing the power to go out. Parents show up and start having kids get in. Parents show up now and they pick the kids up to get them to go home. We see Michael in a house watching Rachel. Jamie wanders alone and she hears leaves crunching like she's being followed. Rachel calls out for Jamie again, and now she hears like twigs breaking. She turns a corner and now sees Michael down the road from her approaching. She panics and runs and jumps the fence, escaping. Jamie yells that she has a big dog that bites anyone following her, and we see Rachel run up on Jamie and they hug. Sheriff Meeker and Loomis show up to pick them up. Sheriff and Loomis now see 3 different people dressed as Myers around them. Loomis aims his gun at one and they reveal themselves as just pranksters. We see the real Myers in the street behind the car watching them drive away. They make it to the station and it's a wreck. The place is destroyed and they find the dead officers' bodies on the ground. Loomis says Myers isn't a man, he's evil. The guys in the truck make it to the sheriff and he tells him to get home. Sheriff has no patience and Loomis tells the mob it's Michael Myers, he's returned home. The mob says they're going to fry Michael's ass. Loomis tells Sheriff he has no police force, these may be our only protection. Logan gets in his car and radios to Meeker, and he's ordered to go to his house with Michael in the back seat. The Carruthers get home to no one there. All right, Brian, go. That's the next 2 scenes I got.
Yeah, first off, if you listened to the Kinmont interview, you heard me tell her this, but I'll say it again. I bought my wife a Cops Do It by the Book shirt just because of this movie. I'll just leave it at that. So Loomis finding those Laurie Strode pictures and the dead dog reminded me that, so at the time of us recording this, because who knows when you're listening, we now have 3 different kids of Laurie Strode in 3 different, parallel universes, timelines, which I think I've said this before, and I don't want to put words in Mike's mouth here, but I think we differ on this one anyway. I think 1 through H2O at least easily fits in the same universe. You just basically have to say that Laurie Strode is a terrible fucking parent, and I don't mind doing that. This bar scene with this mob of Haddonfield residents, if that sounds familiar, I'm pretty sure that we're getting this pretty much exact same thing in Halloween Kills as well. Obviously, it's going to be done much better if what I read is true, but just missing some Anthony Michael Hall. Of course, at this point, what was he, 11? Weird Science, 16 Candles, all that John Hughes stuff. Now I want to watch Weird Science. Anyway, all right. So I think the scene
is elite. Great movie.
Weird Science is elite. I think the scene with the power guy is unnecessary. I definitely like the plot point of like all the power being out, but if you're gonna do it, like again, don't have Myers just pop up in the middle of like the only street light out there, like in full glory, where you can just see it and all his shoulder pad craziness. But with that said, I do like the tension that the movie creates here with Jamie and Rachel not being able to find each other. The empty streets kind of had Trick or Treat vibes to it to an extent there, but I thought it was creepy. I liked that part.
Yeah, kind of a little bit of a forgettable set of scenes outside of the confrontation between Rachel and her man friend, whatever you want to call him. Yeah. So also, I do disagree with you on the timeline only because they just get so nuts in 5 and 6 that I can't count them as I'm fine if you want to go 1 through 4 and H2O and Resurrection. If you really want to do that, that's fine. I know you want to leave Resurrection out, but I mean, Laurie Strode technically dies in that film, so I don't know. Anyway, so yeah, I mean, all that I really have on this set of scenes is I actually kind of disagree a little bit. I like how they use Myers with the street light, all that stuff. I also really, it's going to sound weird, but we do get, and I know that the new timeline gets criticized for a lot of this stuff, but we do get a lot of the same stuff in these other sequels that we get in 2018. We get a lot of kids trick-or-treating. We get that in this film. We get vigilante justice in a way, which we're about to get to. We're going to get that in this new film. By the way, that's also Nightmare on Elm Street, where there's, mob justice kind of took it into their own hands. So, I mean, that's just kind of a theme here amongst, slasher franchises. But this, the scene where you get to see Cops Do It by the Book, by the way, is a good shirt. Kelly Meeker, man, if there were ever a time to go full Friday the 13th and put some rated R for reasons in this movie, this would have been the time. Oh, man. The first time I ever saw this movie, I was hoping for it as a whippersnapper. Now I understand respectfully. It's very tasteful. I appreciate that. First of all, she answers the door in nothing but a t-shirt. So here's my other Wedding Singer reference. She's Linda from The Wedding Singer, wearing nothing but a t-shirt, opening the damn door. But this time there's a bunch of kids. A little weird. Anyway, yeah, it's so funny how he tries to defend himself to Rachel, where it's like, nah, man, she has nothing but a t-shirt on. Saw you in the background. Not sure if she slipped and fell and she yelled your name and you found her. Outside of that, pretty sure I know what you were doing in there, man. So there's nothing to explain yourself for. That's pretty much all this set of scenes says to me, is just a little bit more character development with Rachel and stuff like that. But I mean, to me, the most forgettable set of scenes in the film.
Yeah, I completely agree. Definitely forgettable. Brady is one bold mother effer, but
yes, he is.
Really, Kelly is the bold one here, because you mentioned answering the door with no pants on, freaking out when her dad shows up at the house and making Brady get dressed, but she still has no pants on. Like, what the fuck is this girl's problem? Put some damn pants on. The pranksters also bold. You saw it in with the kids in Scream. Which one is it? Scream 2, maybe, where they got the mask on and they're basically playing in the face of the law enforcement. It might have been Scream 4. Hell, I don't know. I can't remember at this time. But putting the same mask that a known killer wears when you know that there's even hint that he might be on the loose, is a bold strategy. I don't mind Myers in the streetlight. I side with you, Mike. I think it at least creates a cool sight. Not a very memorable set of scenes.
The mob sees someone walking and the score plays, and they open fire on movement in the bushes. And I love how on the Dead Meat kill count, where it says like they shoot at him like it's a Predator movie. But anywho, false alarm. It's Ted Hollister. Now we see Brady and Kelly about to get it on in front of the fire. A car arrives at Sheriff Meeker. The two panic and try and get dressed. Sheriff takes Loomis, Jamie, and Rachel inside. Officer Logan arrives now. Sheriff tells Kelly to lock up the doors and windows. He asks Brady if he knows how to use a gun and gives him one. He orders him to, hammer up the attic, and he also tells him to leave his daughter alone. He's going to use a shotgun on him. Logan goes back outside to get his car to get his shotgun, and he's back inside now. Brady goes in to check on Rachel, and she tells him about Myers. He's Jamie's uncle. He tells Rachel he's going to the attic now. Logan begins to nail shut the shutters. Kelly tells her dad all the windows are locked, and he orders Logan to watch the front door. It's the only way in or out. He has Kelly make coffee now. Brady is in the attic and hears creaks and calls out for who's there. The closet opens, but no one's there. Sheriff fires up his radio, but no one answers. Officer Logan sits down and Kelly makes up some coffee. Rachel gets Jamie to sleep and she goes downstairs. She chats with Officer Logan. He tells her they can head home after the state police get here. We see Myers masked down the hall subtly. Meeker gets a hold of help and troopers are on the way. Loomis asks Rachel if Jamie is okay, and now he tells Logan help is on the way. Loomis leaves to go to the Carruthers house. Rachel and Kelly are in the kitchen together now, and she apologizes, saying she didn't know she and Brady had anything going on, but she doesn't seem serious about what she's saying. She tells her to wise up to men's wants, and and Rachel throws coffee on Kelly. Sheriff hears on the radio about Ted Hollister's death by the mob. Rachel sits by the radio now, and Sheriff tells Logan he's got to go deal with the mob of beer bellies. Jamie awakes and sees she's alone. Kelly takes the coffee to Officer Logan, who doesn't acknowledge her. She sets the coffee down and sees that Officer Logan is dead. Michael stands up, revealing himself, and he rams the shotgun through Kelly, killing her through the wall. Rachel hears on the radio the ETA for the troopers is 35 minutes. Rachel sees Logan missing and calls out for him. She grows concerned and finds his dead body and sees Kelly is dead and screams. She runs upstairs for Jamie, who's gone. Brady runs into her and Brady shoots the door, but it's metal and it's too hot to open. The three see Michael now, who walks up the stairs, and Brady loads the shotgun up slowly. Rachel and Jamie call for him, but Michael gets a hold of him, tossing him into the wall, and takes the gun from him, throwing it to the floor below. Brady punches Michael, but has his hand crushed, and then Michael breaks his neck. All right, Brian, go ahead. That's the next two scenes, and the next two are the ending.
So these idiots on this mob and the Big Al and Earl saying, "I seen his face." How do you even know what the hell he looks like? And obviously,
Amen. Thank you.
I mean, shit, and I mean, obviously they sell his mask at every hardware store and drugstore. So hell, we just saw 3 kids with it. I mean, I assume that this is just a throwback to when Loomis killed that kid with his car, thinking it was Myers. Was that Halloween 2? With the blonde haired Myers mask. Was that Ben Tramer? I think it was. I don't know. Remember if that was. I don't remember if that was in 2 or 78. Anyway, regardless, it's stupid to me the way that this went down here was just some rustling in the bushes and then blow it away. Describing about him shooting at predators, perfect explanation. I mean, that was perfect. In either in our interview or one that I saw with Kathleen, I honestly can't remember, but she talked about this fire, not really sex scene, but I guess just like makeout session with Sasha Jensen. She said that they actually filmed her topless here in an alternate take, but they actually used this one instead, opting for no nudity. And in an additional scene with her apparently walking around topless in the hallway looking for a shirt as her dad is pulling up. Which, hey, my man Brady is living every man's nightmare.
Leave it in.
The dad's coming home and he's the sheriff. And he brings your ex-girlfriend. Woof. Anyway, so this is where it starts to kind of get into what I think I love most about this movie. And you get like almost Night of the Living Dead vibes as they're kind of like basically barricading themselves in the house. And then I love the scenes in this house because you're kind of trapped in there with them. You get this claustrophobic almost feel with not many places to go. And without power, I think it adds a ton of tension to it. I love it. And then we get my favorite spoiler alert kill of the movie, and then Kelly's. I think being stabbed with that gun, I've always thought was badass. And that shot with Myers standing up in the dark with the music blaring, that's how they should have shot Myers in this entire movie. I thought that was badass. But come on, I mean, like him killing Kelly and that whole thing wasn't loud enough that Rachel and Brady heard it, or didn't hear it, and Jamie didn't hear it. Yeah, okay. Anyway, that's all I have for the set.
Yeah, so as much as I didn't care for the last set of scenes, because I think not a lot happens, I like this set of scenes because we really start to pick up business. These last 2 sets of scenes, it's really why I hold the movie in such high regard. The mom thing, it's actually adds a little bit of comic relief, the good kind, when they realize they killed Ed Hollister. I think that's a pretty funny scene. I know a lot of people don't like it, but I don't know. The realization that, oh crap, we killed the wrong guy is always funny to me. Also, perfect lesson to vigilante justice is not the way most of the time, especially in this form. So again, you said it, Brian, my man Brady, this is literally the worst possible outcome of this night for you. not only did you get caught, you didn't get any. Okay, you didn't get any. You cheated. You got caught, and now your new girlfriend's dad is on the way. He's the sheriff of the town, and he's bringing your ex with him. Okay, well, Katie barred the door. We're done here. No one. If I were him, I would have wanted to die by the hands of Myers at this point. All right, just take me. I've had enough of this shit. I mean, really. I mean, this is not a good night for my man Brady. This is a little bit of a tough outing here. Yeah, man. So I am with you 100% though, Brian. These scenes in the house are so well done to me. I think they're very reminiscent of some of the mood, atmosphere, suspense we get in 78 when you're kind of with Michael and Lori, and even to an extent Tommy and Lindsay. I think they kind of use some of that in the set of scenes inside the house. Like, again, you feel trapped. You're in there with them the same way you're in the house with Lori. And I think that's intentional. Again, it's not shot for shot, but note for note, it's kind of a little bit of a callback to what you get in Halloween 78. And I like that. So I like this. And this is, to me, the set of scenes that kind of kicks a notch up a little bit. I love the redemption arc for Brady a little bit. He at least tries to fight off Michael Myers to save everyone. So I'll give him that. He doesn't make it, obviously. But I agree with you, Brian. Spoiler right here, right now. My favorite death is Kelly. That is a cool kill, a great shot. And it looks like we get almost a little bit of, not the same thing in this new Halloween Kills, but very similar shot of how one of the firefighters dies, because they spoiled it in the trailer. As far as the way the shot looks, very similar-ish shot. And so, again, it's kind of funny how what's old is new again. But, yep, I really like the set of scenes. This is where it starts to really feel like a Halloween / Michael Myers movie, and I like it. It's just hard sometimes to ignore how bad the mask is in these sets of scenes. Like, yeah, I love these, but these would be so good if they had a James Jude Courtney mask, or even a Rob Zombie Halloween mask would be really good here. And so I just wish that there was a different mask. It would take these scenes up a notch. But I still really enjoy this set of scenes.
Yeah, so first of all, I want to say R.I.P. my man Ted Hollister. He did not deserve that. He did not deserve to get shot just because he was taking a piss in the bushes. This is an infomercial. This is a perfect commercial for why vigilante justice will never work. Leave it to the professionals. Also, you know, going back to the house though, the circumstances of how we got here are kind of frustrating. Like, I don't like, okay, we got to lock up the house. Oh no, everybody's got to leave except for you 3-4 people. Like, just different circumstances. Loomis sneaking out and taking shit in his own hands, and then the sheriff going out because, oh God, we got to get out there before more people die. Okay, that's whatever. But then once we get here in the house, like you guys said, I think that it's shot really well. That damn Michael Myers, that's one crafty bastard getting into a house that's only got one way in and out. Shout out to him for that. The last thing that I have on this set of scenes, because you guys pretty much touched on everything, and I don't want to beat dead horses. Had Brady, yeah, he had a rough night. But had this been Julius from Friday the 13th Part 8, maybe things would be different.
Who?
Julius from Friday the 13th Part 8, because that man packed a punch.
Never heard of it.
He would have knocked Michael Myers' ass out. Or, on the flip side, another thing this movie shows me is that Michael's not shit compared to Jason, because, you know, Michael punched a motherfucker, Jason punched the motherfucker's head off. And Michael,
Jason's actually dead. He's a zombie. Supernatural. Fuck off. Also, this part 4 is better than his part 4. All right, see ya.
Yeah, I got nothing else on this set of scenes, really. I mean, it's I did like once we got to the house. I thought it was really well done. The kill, the pettiness, the cattiness of the women. Their reaction was awesome. Her pouring the coffee on her shirt. I thought because that's real life. Like, yeah, our lives might be in danger, but you're still cheating. You still a home wrecking bitch. So I'm gonna pour my coffee on your shirt. I'll appreciate that. The kill. I think it's hilarious that when movies like this do things like this with Michael having a fucking gun in his hand, but not really knowing that it's more deadly if he pulls the trigger. Instead, I'm just gonna pin you to the wall with it. I thought that's fucking awesome. Yeah, decent set of scenes, better than the one we got before this. So we're trending up.
All right, here's the ending, guys. And I think this is hilarious every time I watch it. Rachel yells for Michael to leave us alone, and she and Jamie throw luggage and other stuff into the stairway to block him off. Rachel breaks the window, and they make it onto the roof. Michael is on the roof now, chasing after them. Rachel ties a cord around Jamie and lowers her to the ground until Michael swipes at her with a knife, and she drops Jamie, who just dangles in the air. Rachel falls off the roof, and Jamie shakes her, and she's not moving. Jamie cries until she sees Michael. Then she takes off running and crying for help. We see Rachel, begin to move and wake up. Loomis grabs Jamie and asks, "Where's the schoolhouse?" And they head there, saying it'll be safe. He shoots the lock, and they make it inside, and the alarm rings. They check doors, but they're all locked. Michael appears and tosses Loomis through a glass door. Jamie walks the halls and screams when she sees Michael. She falls down the stairs and crawls away. Michael grabs her by the leg, but Rachel sprays him with a fire extinguisher. The mob gets to the school, and Rachel carries Jamie out. She tells him that Michael is inside. They say, "Let's leave Haddonfield and let the state police handle it." They load up in the truck and take off. Earl radios he's got Rachel and Jamie, and they're heading out of town. They stop the cops, and they tell them there's a station with an officer on duty, and they take care of them, and they're heading to the school. Now we see Michael climb from under the truck into the truck bed. He begins to kill the men and toss them out the truck. He grabs Earl by the neck and rams his fingers deep into his throat, killing him. Rachel pushes him out and drives the truck now. Michael's on the roof of the vehicle trying to grab Rachel. She swerves repeatedly, trying to throw him off. Michael headbutts the windshield, and she slams the brakes, throwing him off onto the pavement. Michael stands up, and she drives into him, launching him into I think this is a cemetery. The police show up, and Rachel runs to them. Jamie looks at Michael and walks to his body. She grabs his hand, and they yell for Jamie to leave. She walks away as he sits up, and they open fire on Michael, and he falls into a hole in the ground that collapses on him. Back at the Carruthers' house, the parents hug them, and Meeker tells Loomis it's over. Darlene takes Jamie upstairs to prepare a bath for her. We now see a POV shot of someone grabbing scissors. The POV shot puts a mask on and heads into the bathroom with Darlene. Darlene screams, and Loomis runs up the stairs. He screams when he sees Jamie with the bloody scissors. Sheriff stops him when he pulls his gun, and they're all in shock as they stare at Jamie, who's bloody, holding up the scissors. All right, Brian, what'd you think of the ending?
All right, so I feel like I say this every week, and maybe it just has to do with how we break down the scenes and how much is included in the ending. But this ending is a bit of a hit and miss for me. That roof climbing scene, definitely, I feel like that they revisited that at the beginning of Resurrection, if I'm not mistaken. And by God, we definitely get another "man, fuck them kids" a moment on that roof when they're lowering Jamie down. "I've got you, Jamie. I've got you." Yep, let her go. I don't know. Daniel Harris did such a great job in this group of scenes, though. I mean, she shines the most in this group of scenes than she does in the entire movie. I think she really is. It's amazing. Little fun fact: Daniel Harris actually revealed in the 25 Years of Terror that when her character runs through the neighborhood screaming for help, someone legitimately called the cops. She said, "I was banging on doors, yelling for someone to help me after I got lost trick or treating or something. So 4 o'clock in the morning, they're hearing a little screaming down the streets, and they called the cops, and the cops came." So just a little fun moment from set. I very much dislike the scenes at the school. I don't know why. I just feel like that it should have ended at the house somewhere in some way. I guess I don't know, and I guess so many movies use the school. You kind of get that. I don't know, but you get that famous blonde Myers mask though here. But I could have done without the entire group here, and especially the rednecks, the entire Fast and the Furious fighting on the truck scenes. You really have to suspend your disbelief too much there, and it's just not really for me. Um, Another little fun fact: originally, when Jamie and Loomis they were trapped in that school, Jamie hid in a classroom under a desk. Well, Michael entered searching for throwing desks over. If that sounds familiar, they cut it for this film, but it was remembered by COD and later reused for Halloween H2O 20 years later. But the ending with Jamie stabbing Rachel's mom, come the fuck on. That's just absolutely epic. I love it. The way they shot it, the way Pleasance acted with the reaction, I think it's amazing. And I know we've talked over and over about it, but just think about the possibilities that they could have taken after this and where they could have gone. And we got Halloween 5. So there you go. Go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you. So the very end, I love. Shelving that for a second. Like this, I like the scenes at the school. I think, golly, man, they drive up the tension so much. Because again, I think even though if you see this movie for the very first time, it's pretty much a dead giveaway that Jamie Lloyd's probably going to live, but you're not sure about Rachel, so you kind of want to see where these characters go. Because, you know, in these slashers, normally you get a final girl. Well, technically, our final girl is a 10-year-old. And so there's another one. And is she on screen to die to kind of like make you have an emotional connection? So I am interested to see where the characters go. Some of these scenes are hit and miss. I don't need anything from these redneck fucks that live in Haddonfield. I'm glad as time has gone on, we get a better, more developed Haddonfield than we get in this movie, where it's just like some bumpkin town. I don't think that's necessarily the case or how it should be. But I like the scenes in the school. I even like the scene that you're talking about, Brian, where, oh, I got you, Jamie. I got you. Lets her go. Like, I actually kind of like that scene. Like, I'm totally okay with that. Adds a little something. So, okay. Here's why we're really here, though. And here's why I really like this movie. Or one of the main reasons I like the movie is the very end. First of all is well. Looks like Michael Myers is gone for now. We know that wasn't ever going to be the case, but Michael Myers is gone. And you get this flip of Jamie Lloyd where she stabbed her mom with the scissors. You get a call back to the original in 78. You know, the callback to the very opening scene in that movie with Michael Myers standing there in the clown costume with the knife. Now you get Jamie Lloyd standing there with the clown costume with the scissors, all bloodied up. And it is so, sometimes I think it's really good by Donald Pleasance, and sometimes it makes me laugh. No, like it's so over the top. I don't hate it though. I think it's really, really good. Most of the time. Every now and then I'm like, I don't know about you, Donald. But first of all, I forgot to comment on the burn marks on Donald Pleasance's face. Good continuity. Okay, they don't look good, but good continuity by the filmmakers to at least not ignore Halloween 2 altogether, like Halloween 5 does. And then I think it's 6 where it's like, I had to have plastic surgery to reconstruct my face, because they don't have any burn marks in that movie. I don't know if it's 5 or 6. It's one of those. I get the two confused because he's a batshit loony nutcase in both of those films. But anyway, yeah, really love this end. And it makes me so fucking pissed that they didn't go anywhere with this ending. It's so perfect. Look, you can bring Myers back and still keep this ending. You don't have to turn her into someone who doesn't talk in the next film. Someone who didn't actually do this. She was possessed by the Myers spirit or whatever the fuck that thing is doing in 5. Have her be the killer in 5. Have Myers come in, kind of not kill with her, because that's what Rob Zombie wanted to do if he did a third Halloween, was have Laurie and Michael kind of kill together, which, okay, I'm interested. But in this situation, like, so different to have a 10, 11-year-old slasher villain. I think that would have been kind of cool for a movie to just see what they did with it, and they absolutely did nothing with it. So it almost retroactively 5 brings the ending of this movie down because they didn't do anything with it. But as a standalone film, I absolutely love this ending.
Hey, Dustin, before you go, Mike, I like how you brought up the Dr. Loomis talking about his burns. It was funny earlier in the movie though when he got to the sheriff's or whatever. He's talking about how he got his burns, and he's like he's got his hand like over him, but it's not where his burns are. It's on his good cheek. I thought that was hilarious.
Damn it, Donald.
So I think this ending is okay as well. But I like the chase sequence we get. You know, chasing him out of the house, off the roof, falling off the roof. It does a great job of building the suspense and the tension, and then the scenes in the school. I think all that's fine, very fine film. It's okay, but I'll be honest with you, I hate the ending, the turn with Jamie, because it didn't go anywhere. And so yeah, I get what you're saying, Mike. If you look at it as a standalone, or you just end it there, okay, cool. It is great. It is like, holy shit, that's crazy. But the fact that there's movies after this that are in the same timeline that don't do anything with it, oh man, it fucking sucks to me, because it's like, well, it was all for naught, and it was an unnecessary turn to a sympathetic and character that we really felt for. Now, like I said, if they'd have gone somewhere with it, then I would change my mind 100%. But overall, I'm not gonna go on too long. It's a decent ending. There are some things to like. There's some things that could have been shot better or done better, but just an okay finale.
You may get what someone on this show thinks they should have done next week.
Oh, okay. Looking forward to that. Any more final thoughts before we just jump into a fan question? All right, this is from Facebook. This one's not a serious question, but Joe asked, question, the eyebrows, just why? I just thought it was funny. But a real question we have is from one of the biggest fans of the show, Michelle Mirza. She says, this is my favorite Halloween next to the original. I think this movie really captures the feeling of fall. What do you guys think? I think we've all mentioned it. I think it does a great job atmosphere-wise.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah.
If you don't like this movie for anything else, you should definitely like it for that. It feels like a Halloween movie, 1,000%.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. We can just go ahead and jump into fun facts. So a lot of mine have been said already, but I got one left. I just thought this was interesting. Danielle Harris sold the clown costume to a fan. That's pretty cool. She probably wish she had it now, though. But if anybody else has fun facts, go ahead.
I've got a couple. Melissa Joan Hart auditioned for the role of Jamie, Clarissa herself, and friend of the show, Lisa Wilcox, auditioned for the role of Rachel Carruthers, actually. The ambulance that transports Michael Myers was actually a prison bus in an earlier draft of the script. If that sounds familiar, they used that 30 years later in Halloween 2018.
I got just a couple. We said most of mine during the filming. This movie was written. The script was written in just 11 days, and that's because in 1988 there was a big, what at the time was the longest Writers Guild strike to date. And knowing that was imminent, the crew got the script done in 11 days. So hats off to them. Maybe that's why some things fell out of place.
Yeah,
and
I think so.
I forgive a lot because of that fact. Also, this is just something I found very interesting, and this could be a topic for later discussion for us. But is 1988 the best year for horror? And the reason I say that is because this is the first year in which this is the first year that all three of the big three slashers dropped a movie. Halloween 4 came out. Friday the 13th Part 7 came out, The New Blood. And then Nightmare on Elm Street 4, The Dream Master came out. But also the first Child's Play. Child's Play.
Okay.
Hellraiser 2. Shut up, Nico.
Nope, lost me.
And Phantasm 2 all came out in 1988. So this is a huge year for horror.
Yeah, it is.
No doubt.
I would almost still take 84 over that because of some of the classics we get. I mean, there's just some really good films in 84, but that's not a bad rundown, man. Now, Friday Part 7 kind of
is good too.
Friday Part 7 kind of ruins that for me, though. Just throwing that out there. Not that the Dream Master was any better.
Oh,
Part
I get it,
is
though.
Way better than Hellraiser 2, though.
Well, I get why Mike said 84 because that's when his and Nico's favorite movie ever, Children of the Corn, was released. I get it.
Never mind. Bad year for film. Fuck Nightmare on Elm Street. That movie, your year was ruined. So the budget was $5 million. This movie made a cool $17.8 million. So clearly enough to get a really shitty sequel after this that I can't stand. So listen. Terrible. So real quick, this movie, we kind of touched on it, but this movie went through, you mentioned the writing and how they did it in a short period of time, got this script together. Obviously, me and Brian kind of touch on the Etchison draft and how that was a completely different film that Carpenter and Deborah Hill approved of. They liked the way that he took the characters, and I think it's an episode maybe down the road of sequels that didn't get made that we actually thought would be cool. Like if we ever wanted to just do a bonus about that, to me, I would probably take the Etchison draft and use it as one of mine because there's some really good stuff in here that some of the later Halloween films kind of borrow from. And so I think it's very interesting that there's another draft of this movie that also didn't get made either. I'm just drawing a blank. But this movie went through a little bit of hell to get made, so I will give them credit for getting it freaking made, man. Like it's a lot to make a movie in these for whatever reason. Nightmare to Halloween, Friday have a hard time getting their films made, and it was at least they finally got one done. So yeah, that's all I got.
All righty, let's jump into our favorite part. Favorite kill, least favorite kill, and the rating. Does anybody in particular want to go first tonight?
So my favorite kill I already talked about was Kelly. My least favorite kill is, man, I'll just
There's a lot
say
to choose from with worst kill.
yeah, there is. No, there is. I would have liked to have seen the mechanic die on screen. So that's probably my least favorite kill because I think it would have been a cool kill to see actually on screen. Okay, so I've kind of said why I like this movie, why I don't like, certain things I don't like. I hate the mask. I'm indifferent about Wilbur's performance, but I like this movie because I do think it's just very simple watch. I think sometimes that can be a good thing. I like the plot. I think again, I don't love the family ties that this franchise gives us, but I think this is probably the best done one outside of H2O as far as the family ties that we get. So I like some of the strong character work. I think Jamie Lloyd and Rachel, really, really good team duo to kind of have. I wish they wouldn't have shit all over that in Halloween 5. But all that being said, probably my third, now Kills is not out yet, but I would say it's probably my third favorite Halloween film. I go back and forth on whether I like this more or whether I like H2O more. I mean, if you ask me the day, it might change. Some days I like H2O more. Some days I like this more. So it just kind of depends on that. And, Rob Zombie's Halloween kind of slips in there every now and then, even though it makes everyone on the show angry except Dustin. I'm sorry. But it's nostalgia for me, so what can I do? But all that being said, I give this movie a 7.75. If you had asked me probably 2 years ago, I would have given it a little bit higher. But as more sequels come out, like Halloween Kills jumped this film, H2O, since we did it last year, kind of jumped this film. And I may have even given that a lower rating. I don't remember. It's because I go so far back and forth. But I love the character of Jamie Lloyd, so it gives a little bit of extra bump. 7.75.
I'll go next. You want me to, Dustin? Best kill, I agree with. I don't know what Dustin's favorite kill is yet, but I agree with you two. Cops Do It by the Book, Kelly Meeker's kill. I mean, I really don't like a lot of the kills, so that one just wins just because it was kind of cool. Worst, I really didn't know what to pick for my worst kill. I kind of wish Brady would have had a better death just because I didn't like him, but I chose the female paramedic we don't see die. But it could have been the waitress, too. I mean, it could have been a lot of different kills. I just wrote a little summary. Don't hate this movie, but I don't think it's anything special. I like Jamie and Rachel's sisterhood. I like their alliance. I think they do a great job. They carry the movie. The look, mood, atmosphere is great. I don't like the portrayal and look of Myers. I'm asking the audience, how hard is it to get Michael a good mask and keep it throughout the movie? A pink mask with blonde hair, my goodness. I gotta say, I didn't like how he just finds the mask in a store again and no one sees this hulking man in there. The terrible gunshot sound effects, hate it. And I agree with you guys. I don't like the ending after the roof up until they're back at the Carruthers house. I'm not a fan of him hiding underneath the truck, climbing in the truck bed. I don't really like that. The anywho, I do enjoy the movie. It's very rewatchable. It's just, I mean, it's a Halloween movie. It's not great, but it's not terrible. I gave it a flat 6.
All right, I'll go ahead and go. So for my favorite kill, I'm going to differ a little bit just because I think the brutality of sticking a thumb through a fucking forehead trumps it a
Good
little bit.
choice. Yeah,
I
good
mean,
choice.
god damn, that's something we haven't seen before. Now, I will say that originally there was a scene in which Michael kills the mechanic, that where he's all tied up and everything. They actually shot it, and his death was they showed Michael stabbing him in the throat with a crowbar,
Would've
and they
liked to
cut
see
it because it was too gory.
Wanted
That
to
would have
see
been
it.
my favorite kill because holy shit.
Also, like the face rip kill. I forgot to mention that. I like that he rips his face off. Sorry.
Yeah, the kills are about 50-50 in this one, about as far as good or just bad or off screen. So that being said, off screen, my least favorite kill is the waitress in the diner, just because
That's
like
fair.
we get a body produced, but she's literally just laying in the floor. Like there's no blood, there's no contortion of her body. It's just not well done for me. As for the movie, so I have a huge problem with the Halloween franchise in general, just because there's so many different fucking timelines. Like if you're gonna reboot it, then reboot it, but don't play off of the originals if you're gonna reboot it. Like this was almost like a reboot that wanted to acknowledge some of its past, not all, and then later on the line they said, "Well, fuck that, we're just gonna go back to the first again." That kills me with Halloween movies. But I do appreciate this one so much. Once again, I'm going to take every opportunity I get to shit on part 3. Thank you, Halloween part 4, for returning to the basics and the namesake, the villain that we came to see. My Halloween rankings when we did those, like I've got 78, 18, and 2007 are my top 3. This was number 4, so I do enjoy this movie. It's just there are its issues, and some of the scenes are kind of not interesting, so it kind of takes me out of it. So all in all, I give this movie a 5.75.
Hey, Brian, before you go, I just want to say one thing, just real quick. The other kill that I chose almost to be my favorite was the electrocution kill. I like that scene, but I really feel like that scene would have been great if that would have been like the 78 mask. How great would that scene have been if it had a really, really good mask? Just Michael out in the open with some stranger. I would have loved it. But anyways, go ahead, Brian.
My favorite kill, I already said, is Kelly Meeker. My least favorite kill is actually Ted Hollister, mostly just because we don't even get a body on that one. So if they'd have showed something, I think it might have like given you a little bit of a bigger impact of what they actually have just done. Anyway, but like I said, there's definitely a lot of problems with this movie. There's a lot of love, and there's a lot of, I think, that they got right, especially the ending with Jamie. Myers mask, I can forgive, but I don't like the rest of the portrayal of Myers. It just felt like Frankensteinish, and honestly, it kind of took a back seat to everyone else in the movie. And if it's and that's a good and a bad thing. That just means you've got a really good cast and pretty good writing, but it's a Michael Myers movie, and I felt like that he took a back seat in this one. Love Ellie, love Kathleen, love Danielle, so good. My nostalgia though plays a big part in this one, and I can always sit down and enjoy watching it. It's my 4th favorite Halloween movie as well. I actually gave this movie a 7.75 as well, Mike.
All right. Okay. Smart man in the room. Smart man.
So that gives our composite score 6.8125.
That's pretty fair. I think that's fair for a lot of our 4th to 5th best movie in a franchise. I think that's pretty fair.
This movie, this sequel is probably one of the fan favorites, though. It's one of the
most absolutely.
Popular ones.
Oh yeah.
I'd say we're below the average of the normal Halloween fan. Like the really diehard Halloween fans probably have this movie 2 or 3, depending on how they feel about 2018. I think anywhere you look, this movie's loved by diehard Halloween fans for sure.
All right, let's shout out these blood donors real quick, and then we'll announce Mike's next pick, and maybe we'll touch on a bonus show we're doing next week. Our camp level reoccurring blood donors are Clayton J, Miss Nina, and a new one, Miss Michelle Merzer. Thank you very much. Our camp counselor reoccurrings are Hunter Nelson, my guy, Karen, Shannon Petrusevich, and Dennis Kennedy. Thank you all so much. And we also got a new legendary blood donor, So we'll be doing another blood donor pick in the near future. Miss
Thank you
Missy
so
Wall.
much.
Thank you so much for donating today.
Absolutely.
Hey, appreciate you commenting on our Facebook a lot too. I appreciate the interaction. It's awesome.
We are so excited by the participation in this blood donor campaign. For those of you who don't know or maybe new, we have launched a new Patreon campaign called Blood Donors. We have 5 donor tiers that range from, just $5 monthly donation to even one-time donations as well. And in exchange for keeping the lights on, we've added perks such as early content to bonus episodes, autographed pictures, t-shirts, and even joining us for an episode of your choice. Any donation goes straight to helping with web hosting, SoundCloud hosting, guest procurement. Again, just thank you guys and girls so much. We have some of the best loyal listeners. We love each and every one of you. We can't believe every day that we get to do this. Just go to don'tgooutthere.com and click donate. And oh yes, there will be blood. But again, not real blood. This is money, you animals.
But Mike, before we announce your pick, we'll just touch on Halloween Kills since we're doing Michael Myers right now. The movie is going to be streaming on Peacock and in theaters this Friday coming up. So obviously it's on streaming. We're going to review this movie as soon as we can for you guys. As much as I love The Conjuring, this was my most anticipated movie of 2021. Super excited for it. Michael looks like a badass. Mike, any comments? Brian?
Yeah, I'm excited to do it. I will be in the theater Thursday night at 7:30 for the early viewing. I can't wait because I can't make it Friday, so I figured I'd go see it early. I know everyone here doesn't like the theater. I don't blame you.
It's number 3 on my top most anticipated movies of this year. But yeah, I'm excited about it.
Same, Brian. Ghostbusters and Scream are mine. And also,
Scream's next year technically, but
Scream 2022 by this much.
That's fair. That's fair. But also, if you're like me and crotchety and old, and you don't want to go to the goddamn theater because all the youths, this movie will be available on the cock, and I'm looking forward to watching it on the couch.
Yeah, I'm sure you'll be.
And honestly, the theater is expensive as hell.
It is.
I bought 2 tickets for Dolby Digital or whatever, just because it was the earliest one, and I'm old man. I got to go to sleep. 7:00. It's $40 for 2 tickets. Like, Jesus.
I mean, and people were bitching about Black Widow being $30. I'm like, shit, I'll pay $30 all day. You pay $70 at the theater if you buy food. Shit, I mean, easily. So
no joke. All right, Mike, let's go ahead and announce your pick. You got an interesting pick for next week. No film review. What are we doing next week?
Yeah, so I decided to change it up, man. We do a lot of film reviews, and I love that, and I love breaking down the films that we love, and that's our normal thing, and we're going to get back to that ASAP. But next week, I decided to take one of our bonus ideas we've been kicking around for over a year now and make it a regular episode. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to pitch a sequel and or reboot. So I think the way we're going to do this is take 3. If you have more, you can do some honorable mentions and kind of do it quick. But take at least 3. You don't have to do 3, but 3 pitches, whether that be a sequel or reboot to any horror film you want. You can reboot it. You can sequel it. So if you really love Halloween 5 for some godforsaken reason and you think 6 wasn't a good sequel, pitch a sequel to that. If you think Blade needed a better sequel than 2, which I don't agree because Blade 2 is better, do that. Whatever you want, all 4 of us will come together and we'll try to pitch each other on yay or nay on is this sequel or reboot good or is it dog shit? And I'm really looking forward to talking about it. You may hear Halloween 4 referenced again.
That'll be fun. And it'll be a nice little change up since we're already doing a film review next week as well. So this will be fun. Definitely. Any more final thoughts before we close out this episode?
Thank you guys again for being blood donors, man.
Absolutely.
We
Thank you guys
so much.
Absolutely. Halloween 4, even if it wasn't all of our favorite Halloween movies, a fun movie to review. It was super easy. Taking notes on it, super easy for me just because I've seen it so many times. Thank you all of our listeners, supporters, fans. We really appreciate you guys. Y'all are awesome. Looking forward to pitching some sequels next weekend. I'm really looking forward to seeing Halloween Kills in a couple days. Y'all have a good one. Just want to remind everybody